Okay, this is part 3 of this video. Okay, so we're going to start with our coefficient. And I'm going to say, what do they have in common? Well, they're going to have in common what the smaller number is. So 2 is the smaller number. So 2 goes into 6 and 2 goes into 4. That means they share a 2. Remember, if 2 doesn't go into this, for example, if this was the number 5, then the 2 could not be a greatest common factor. You would put 1 because that would mean they wouldn't have something in common. So here you go. So I'm going to put plus 4. Okay, sorry about that. My cat was screaming, so I had to go take care of that. So here we go, 6, 2, and 4. Okay, so now we know that the GCF is 2 for the coefficient. So we're going to do these A's. This is 2, 3, and 4. So they have a squared in common. This is x squared, x to the third. So they have x squared in common. That's all they have in common, so that's my greatest common factor. So I do my parentheses and I go 1, 2, 3, and they're both positives. So I'm going to have 3 terms inside the parentheses. Okay. Okay, now I'm ready to divide. 6 divided by 2, 3. I'm going to subtract. Those cancel out, so there's no A's and there's no X's left. So my first term is 3. I'll do the same thing here. Now notice this is 3 and 3, this is 2 and 2. So I'm going to have one A left and one X left, but the 2's will divide out. Now I'm going to do the 4 divided by 2 to get 2. And I'm going to do A4 minus A2 is A squared. X to the third minus X squared is X. So that is my answer. And the check would be 2 times 3. Well, actually, let's distribute. So 2a squared x squared would be 2a squared x, 6a squared x squared, that checks, plus 2 times 1 is 2, a squared, a to the third, x to the third, that matches, okay? And then 2 times 2, 4, a squared plus a squared is a to the fourth, x squared plus x is x to the third, and I can see that that term matches. So because the check works out, I know I did it right. If you recall in the last video, I made a mistake and I missed part of my term, but the check showed me that I did it wrong. So checking it is important, guys. Even if you don't write it down, but at least if you look to make sure that it matches, okay? All right, this next portion of the lesson is going to cover canceling. So we're on 35B. And we're going to write down, let's see, we have x plus 4 over 4, okay? Now, what we want to show you is that you cannot cancel the 4 and the 4. The reason is because these are not factors. If you go one step to the other page, on page 142, they give an example of 4x equals 20. And we know that we can divide by 4 on the left side and they cancel because these are factors. So I'm allowed to use the inverse operation of a factor, which is division, to cancel. And I would do it on this side and I would get x equals 5. But over there on the left side, I can't do that. X and 4 are not factors of each other, and since they're not factors of each other, I can't divide them. I can't reduce them. So that's incorrect. So that leads us to the next example, 4x plus 1 over 4. Now, in the numerator, let's focus. What's happening to the 4 and the parentheses? It's multiplying. So because these are products, these are factors of each other, that means the inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm allowed to divide the 4 and the 4. They'd get 1, and 1 times x, this would be a 1. 1 times x plus 1 equals x plus 1. So you could see that I canceled a factor, but I cannot cancel an addend, okay? So that's very important that you understand that. All right, let's look at the next one. I have example 35.6 has 4a minus 3 over 4. Once again, I notice that the 4's are factors, so I can reduce, and I get 8 minus 3. That's perfect. The next one says 3x minus 2 over x minus 2. Now let's look. Well, the 3 doesn't have another 3 down here, so I can't cancel it. But the x minus 2 is exactly the same as x minus 2. So I can cancel those. What's left over? Only the 3. So your answer here would be 3. Okay? What you have to be careful about is canceling expressions. So if I were to write down something like x minus, let's say 2 over x minus 6, don't try to do that. Okay? This is a factor, this is not. These are the same. If that was a 2, I could cancel it. But those, this is an expression, this is a factor. So you can't do that. Okay? All right, let's look at example 35.7. It says simplify. I have 3p plus 3 over 3. Now, you guys are probably going to think, oh, okay, cross these off. No. Yes, it's true that 3p is a factor, and it is true you can inverse a factor by dividing. But remember, this is one expression together. The whole thing is an expression, so you cannot do that. The right way to solve that problem would be to factor the top first. So you find out what they have in common. The greatest common factor is 3. Then you factor it out. So I'm going to take it, divide it by 3. I have 2 terms, so I'm going to write blank and blank, just like I did on my other part of my lesson. And then I'm going to say 3 divided by 3 leaves a p here. And then I'm going to say 3 divided by 3 leaves a 1 here. Now I'm going to check it to see if it matches. 3p, yes. 3 times 1, 3, yes, it matches. Then I'm going to put my 3 on the bottom. Now I have a factor that I can reduce. So my answer is p plus 1. Okay? All right, let me do a couple more of those, and hopefully this will be, I know this has been a long lesson. Okay, the next one says, this is example 35.8, and it says 3x minus 9x squared over 3x. Again, these cannot be crossed off. You have to factor the top first. So you're going to say, okay, what do these have in common on top? They share a 3, and they share 1x. So in parentheses, I'll write my lines. Okay, and then I'll say, kind of run out of room here. Then I'll say, okay, now let's take the 3x and let's divide. 3x divided by 3x is 1. Okay, 9 divided by 3 is 3. X squared divided by x would be, there's 1x left over. Okay, so I factored the top. Now let's check it. 3x times 1, 3x. 3 times 3, 9x squared. It checks. Now I'm going to put the 3x on the bottom. Okay, now I can reduce, and my answer is what's left over in the parentheses. 1 plus 3x. Okay guys, so that's what you're going to be doing for your homework. Hopefully that will answer all the different types of scenarios. If you struggle with this lesson or if you need help, please let me know.